All right. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. We have a struggling market. Another day, another struggling market. Bitcoin is red today. Bitcoin is at $67,000. The equity market, you see the performance. Equity market, not so good today. A bunch of pullbacks. Today. Bunch of pullbacks. The altcoin market, nothing has changed. I continue to tell you guys, stay on the sideline for majority of 2026. Chat, stay on the sideline for majority of 2026. This is not a drill, guys. This is not a drill. This is real. Stay on the sideline for the majority of 2026. So today, I'm going to give you guys an update on this market. We are going to talk about Bitcoin. We are going to talk about the altcoin market. We will talk about, what you are more likely to see in the midterm and in the long term. We will talk about potential price targets. We will also talk about the equity market. And if you guys have a project, if you have an altcoin that you would like me to analyze, put them in the chat. But once again, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having an amazing Tuesday. If you're new right here, just do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time right here, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching the stream, hit the like. If you're watching the stream, hit the like button. And if you have anything that you would like me to talk about, put them in the chat. All right, put them in the chat. So, once again, I hope none of you guys is surprised by what you are seeing. I hope current price action is not very surprised to you. What I've said to you is that this is not a good looking market. You are going to have to be patient in 2026. Unless you're shorting this market, I advise you to stay on the sideline. Unless you are in the business of shorting this market, I advise you to stay on the sideline. Do not dollar cost average. No. At least I'm not dollar cost averaging. Don't dollar cost average, especially in altcoins. That is the quickest way to ruin yourself financially if you are dollar cost averaging. Chat, I'm going to be very honest with you. There is not a single thing that is happening right now that we haven't talked about. All right? There is not a single thing that is happening right now as far as price goes that we haven't talked about. All right? You go through my YouTube channel, you go through my content. I told you guys, man, don't be fooled. Don't dollar cost average. Don't buy altcoins. The top is in. A 40% crash. A rally from $87,000 to $96,000. We talked about all of it. This is a trap. Remember I told you guys this was a trap a couple weeks ago? And remember, I also said to you a couple of days ago that we have now officially established the range, before the next major drop. My belief is that we are going to range for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Bitcoin is going to trade in this range right here. You got $60,000 and then you got $72,000. Can we go just above 72? Of course, guys. Of course, we may go above $72,000, but the likelihood of staying above $72,000, like the likelihood of staying above here, all right, the probabilities are just tiny, right? And the likelihood, of staying below $60,000 in the short term, again, percentage-wise, like you have a very, very tiny percentage. So you have to get comfortable in this $60,000 to $70,000 range. It is going to get boring for these next 2 to 3 weeks. All right, it is going to get boring, and this is why, I continue to say to you that you have to be patient. All right, if you are not in the business of shorting this market, stay on the sideline. Right, you don't want any of this action. Trust me. You do not want any of this. If this market is going up in the short term, right, I don't want any of you guys to get caught up in thinking that this is a long-term bullish market. This is a long-term bearish market. And I've shared with you guys, numerous times, reasons after reasons why this is a bearish market. We've used different indicators. We've looked at, price action. We looked at the trend of the market. Right? We identified the trend of this market. Lower highs, lower lows. Lower highs, lower lows. That is not a bullish market. And especially when you have lower lows and lower highs on the weekly. So let me talk about exactly what you are seeing in the chart. Let me talk about exactly what kind of price action that we are, experiencing right now. And I'm going to take some questions. I'm going to take requests. If you guys, again, if you have something that you are interested in, in looking at, just put them in the chat, guys. So anyways, let's talk about Bitcoin. Once again, it is going to be boring. We have a Bitcoin where we are more likely to stay in this range for about the next 2 to 3 weeks. Why do I think this? When you zoom out, when you go to the weekly, guys, you're looking at a Bitcoin that recently had a weekly relief rally from $80,000 to $96,000. And you got tons of people out there who are asking for a relief rally. But I'm here and I'm like, we just had a relief rally. We just had a weekly relief rally 3 weeks ago. Well, 4 weeks ago now. All right, guys, 4 weeks ago, we saw the price of Bitcoin go from $80,000 to $96,000. We don't get a relief rally on the weekly 4 weeks later. It doesn't really make any sense to me. And my prediction has always been that we are more likely to experience, all right, something that looks like this, before we get the next weekly relief rally. So when you look at the chart of Bitcoin, all right, where are we more likely to see a short-term bottom before we get a weekly rally? Guys, it only makes sense, when you look at this range right here. All right, it only makes sense when you look at this range right here. And I'm talking about the low $50,000 range. So when you think about the current price action it is only taking place on the daily, not on the weekly, guys. The current price action is nothing but a consolidation on the daily time frame, all right, within a range. So you're looking at a Bitcoin where it is more likely to spend time between $60,000 and $72,000. Now, why 72,000? Well, this is our local top right now. All right. If we go a little higher to 73,000, I'm going to extend my target to $73,000. But as of right now, the local top is $72,000 and the local bottom is 60,000. So when I think about, where are we more likely to face resistance and support, right? It is only $60,000 and $72,000 until I'm proven otherwise. So when you think about a consolidation for about, 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks, it only makes sense, guys, that we get 4 weekly candles between $60,000 and $72,000, before we flash down in the low $50,000 range. And my other thesis is that when you are looking at some of these moving averages, all right, in this instance, I'm looking at my 21 weekly moving average. I'm also looking at my 50 weekly moving average. The 21 weekly is at $88,000. The 50 weekly is at $93,000. So I don't think, this is, sustainable in terms of how far the price is from the moving averages. I think if we go sideways for a couple weeks, that allows the 21 and the 50 to play catch up. And if the price can dump all the way down in the low $50,000 range, the next time we get a weekly rally, we are more likely to get closer, all right? We don't have to retest the 21 weekly moving average, but we are more likely to get very close to the 21 weekly moving average. And the example that I continue to use, and I've said this numerous times, you got to go back and study May of 2022. Chad, you got to do your research, man. If you come back right here, May of 2022, Bitcoin crashed from $35,000 to $25,000. And then we spent the next 4 weeks between $25,000 and, we spent the next 4 weeks between $25,000 and $32,000. $32,000 because this was our local top. All right. So after the drop, we had the rally to $32,000. And when you look at this performance right here, guys, when price was going sideways, not on the weekly, this was taking place on the daily. When we were going sideways on the daily, this allowed this 2 moving average to play catch up. And then when we end up flashing all the way down to $17,000, the next time we had a weekly rally, this is the weekly rally right here, guys, we got very close to the 21 weekly moving average. We didn't retest it, but we got very close to the 21 weekly moving average. So I believe that if you do your research and you study this consolidation right here, to me, this looks very, very similar to what Bitcoin is doing right now. All right. To me, this looks very, very similar. So I'm going to say, we definitely are going to get a weekly close below 70,000, definitely above $60,000. So that gives us about 2 weeks in the range. So I think you get 2 more weeks after, and then we flash, all the way down in this low $50,000 range. If you go to the daily, let me show you the look of the daily when we consolidated, back then. When we had the consolidation back then, guys, the price of Bitcoin broke above the 21 daily moving average. We didn't retest the 50, but we broke above it, all right, before we got rejected, and then we had the drop from 32,000 to $17,000. So when you think about right now, all right, we have a rally, all right, this is the rally right here. So what we are more likely to see is, notice how the 21 weekly moving average is already at $73,000 right now. I think what you are more likely to see is something that looks like this. If we get a drop, if this pullback continues, let's say we come all the way down to $62,000. I think the next rally breaks above the 21 daily moving average. All right. I don't think we get above the 50, but I think we break above the 21 daily moving average. And I think we put in a top, maybe somewhere around here. And then when we do get a pullback, we're going to break the lows, 60,000, and then we're going to flash all the way down in the $50,000 range. I also want to share something else with you guys. If you think about this range right here, guys, $60,000 to $72,000. If you go from this top all the way down to the bottom right here, if we were to lose $60,000, the distance between the top and the bottom, it gives you your target. So if we go from right here all the way down, this gives you a $47,000 Bitcoin. All right. So once again, what are we looking at? We're looking at that low $50,000 range, guys. And when you look back at, where $47,000 is, I mean, you absolutely can't make this up, guys. This is a range right here. All right. This is the range right here. So there we go. This is a range right here. If you go back, all right, let me see all the way back again. If we come back and we look this again, all right, maybe we don't come back to retest the 60,000, just like we didn't retest, the low of the wick. So maybe $65,000 right now is the low of the range. So if that is the case, I want to share something with you right now. If this is the case right here, if $65,000, if this is the low of the range, all right, and then this is the top, or let's say we go just a little higher, or let's say we go, I'm just going to give it to $74,000. Let's say we go to $74,000. But right now, I want to stay with $72,000. If this is the range right here, the breakdown, this is the target right here, guys. If you take this breakdown right here, you put it right here. All right, this will give you a Bitcoin that does what? That breaks below 62,000. It gives you a $57,000 Bitcoin. So if you do get a breakdown and $60,000 is lost, all right, a retest that's rejected, it only sends you down in the low $50,000 range. So I am looking at this right here, and I see a lot of similarities to when Bitcoin was within that $25,000 to $32,000 range. And if you don't believe me, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to play out exactly as I envision, but you just can't ignore how bearish this is. Yesterday I spent time talking about the momentum indicator. And what I say to you guys is, don't allow anyone who is out there screaming that the low was $60,000, get away with it. All right, absolutely not, guys. The MACD looking like this on the weekly and $60,000 is the bottom of the pullback. Are you killing me? All right, look, this is going to take some time. I promise you. All right, we are going to get a bullish divergence on this weekly. So meaning very soon, all right, this is going to happen very soon. Very soon, this MACD is going to give you what many of you guys call a buy signal. It's really not a buy signal, but you're gonna get this blue line cross above this red line right here. This blue line will cross above the red line. The MACD is going to start trending up because how low can we go from here? Like honestly, right? How low can we go from here? We've already taken out, literally, guys, the bottom of the bear market MACD. We've already taken that out. So I believe pretty soon we are going to see something that looks like this. And while this is happening, the price of Bitcoin is going to be dumping. All right. So while this is rising, Bitcoin is going to be putting in lower lows, not lower highs, lower lows. And also, when you look at the RSI, weekly RSI, chat, what you about to see over the next couple months is exactly this right here. And I promise you, when this is happening, all right, while this is going to be happening right here, while something like this is going to be happening right here, this is not going to this is not going to be reflecting in the rise of the price. This is going to be positive because this is a bullish divergency. But in terms of the price, in during this rise right here of the RSI, the price is going to be dumping. And if you guys don't believe me, look, I'll show it to you. I want you to take a look at the performance of Bitcoin, all right, price-wise, between June of 2022 and November of 2022. So we just highlighted the area. So if you come up here, guys, I want you guys to take a look at the performance. Performance of Bitcoin between June of 2022 and November of 2022. Look, you go from $26,000 to $16,000. All right, RSI was rising, but guess what, guys? The price was dumping. So what I'm saying to you is this is exactly, all right, this is what we are more likely to experience. We are more likely to experience, something like this over the next couple months. Probably that starts very soon because look at where the RSI is. But we got to be patient, of course. So my message to you is be cautious. All right? Do not dollar cost average. Don't buy anything because we are going to be here for a while. You see these you see these moving averages right here, guys. This blue line is going to pull all the way down in the $60,000 range. This green line is going to pull all the way down. All right. When you go to the monthly, this MACD, man, is going to pull all the way down. Look, this MACD, this blue line right here, this is going to pull all the way down here. And then he's going to give you a, this curve right here. And then he's going to, it's going to break above this red line. This red line is going to pull all the way down here. So while this is happening, this is not weeks. This is months. We in February right now, guys. You got to be looking at, October, November, December of 2026. When you look at the RSI, this RSI right here probably comes down here to retest probably the lows of 2022. Probably we break below. If you think about the last previous bear markets, RSI has extended. We actually have these lower lows. So these RSI might come all the way down here to around 38. RSI is currently at 43. So if we're coming all the way down to 38, like this is a long waiting. All right. And then, of course, RSI is going to turn around. By the time the market flips bullish, the RSI is going to be breaking above the 50 line. So when you think about when BTC became bullish in the last, bull market, when RSI broke above the 50, that was around March of 2023, guys. Let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. March 2023, Bitcoin is breaking above $28,000. Bitcoin is breaking above its 21 monthly moving average. So what I'm saying to you guys is, you have time. All right, don't allow anyone, to make you feel like if you don't buy in the low $60,000, you're missing anything. There's going to be time. There is going to be plenty of time. I can tell you guys, look, when RSI on the monthly finally bottoms and then it goes sideways and then tries to go up again, like this takes months right here. Last bear market, the bottom was around June of 2022. We don't start pushing up until December of 2022. Yo, chat, this is months of waiting. Right, 2015 bear market, RSI bottom around 44. January of 2015. We don't start pushing up until August of 2015, guys. August, September. This is a long waiting. Right? So you look at the RSI line, we are still declining. No sign of a reversal to the upside. Why do you feel like you got to rush into a position? It doesn't make any sense to me. And this is why I continue to come here every single day or every couple of days. And what I say to you is, just relax. Just relax. You don't need to buy anything. Absolutely not, guys. Why are you trying to rush into a position? Why not just be patient? Why not wait until the bear market is over? A lot of these guys on X, I don't know who most of you guys are following, but a bunch of these guys, it's clickbaiting, guys. A lot of these guys, they are just looking for followers, because the more bullish stuff that you post, the more likely you get followers. Look, I'm at 625 followers, but I promise you, the value I'm providing is way more compared to a bunch of these guys with hundreds, if not thousands of followers. So you got to be careful out there. The other thing is this, guys. Michael Saylor continues to buy Bitcoin. Today, he bought 2,486 Bitcoin for a price of $168.4 million at an average price of $67,710. And as of right now, he is holding, so many Bitcoin that is acquired at $76,027 per Bitcoin. And what I say to you guys, I say this, look, Michael Saylor's strategy should not be your strategy. Just because Michael Saylor is out there accumulating, it doesn't mean that you should go out there and buy Bitcoin and crypto, because his strategy is a terrible one. He has been accumulating Bitcoin since 2020, and he's currently down about 10%, guys. Can you imagine, chat? You started buying Bitcoin in 2020, and your average price is $96,000, and the price of Bitcoin is $67,000, and we in 2026. Like, that is one of the worst strategy, if you ask me. You could have bought anything. So, but I'm not saying, the Michael Saylor is a bad investor, because this is a complete different strategy. I mean, this guy is holding around, $55 billion worth of Bitcoin. If the price of Bitcoin goes to $200,000, I mean, can you imagine the profits? He doesn't need Bitcoin to go up 300% to make profits. If Bitcoin goes up 20% from his average, he's up billions and billions of dollars in profits. So I hope, Saylor is not a buy signal for majority of you guys. I hope you have your own strategy. And my strategy, and this is the one that I am sticking with for 2026, is to be on the sideline for majority of 2026, is to do nothing in this market for majority of 2026. Continue to stack cash, continue to make sure I'm watching the market, continue to make sure I'm on the right side of the trend, because I only want to be in the market if the market is trending up. I do not want to be a bag holder. I do not want to hold any of these altcoins and go through a 50, 80, 90% crash. I don't want any of that. I do not want to hold Bitcoin when there's a potential 30% crash. I don't want any of that. I want to be on the sideline. I want to wait until the bear market is finally over. I'm not here to capture the absolute bottom of this bear market. This is not why I'm here, guys. What I am here to try to do is get in early in an uptrend and try to get out early towards the latter stage of the bull market. If you guys appreciate the content, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. And we're going to do proper price analysis, guys. We are going to, properly analyze this market. Just want to make sure I get my point across. I hope you guys are not buying the dip. Trust me. We have plenty of time. Yo, chat, this is not a race. Look, I am speaking to you who's watching the stream right here. This is not a race. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. All right? I promise you, you have more time than you think you do. You have plenty of time. Like a lot. Guys, when I say a lot of time, you have a lot of time. All right? And every single day, every single week, all right, this market proves to you that you actually have time. Because, if you dollar cost average, let's say the last couple months, you're looking at this market and you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I just wait until, we in the low $60,000 range? Why didn't I just wait until Solana is below $100? Because I promise you, when Solana was at 150, there were influencers that were pushing the price of Solana. There were influencers that were pushing the accumulation of Solana. And even at 86, are we at 86 right now? Even at 85 right now, guys, what I'm saying to you is, you're going to buy a Solana much, much cheaper. Just give it some time. You are going to buy Solana much, much, much cheaper. The end to come 2109. Thanks for the guidance. Appreciate it. I'm here for you guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you for continue supporting. Continue to smash the like button. Continue to subscribe if you can. Guys, you don't have to, this is one of those things where, say you don't have to like the messenger. Just like the message, guys. If the message sounds good, even if you don't like the messenger, there's nothing wrong with, actually listening and, applying the information. So anyways, let's do TA on a bunch of these altcoins. I see XYO. We'll take a look at XYO. As I'm analyzing altcoins, as you guys can clearly see, I really try to focus on, the ones with bigger market caps, because, these low caps altcoins, honestly, like I really don't even want to talk about them or even don't want to analyze them, because, like, I don't want any of my viewers to get excited, when looking at low caps. Because the risk, it's not even worth it, man. Like, the risk is really, really not worth it. Anyways, so let me start with Solana, and then we'll, work our way down into other altcoins. Solana, $85. And I'm telling you right now, stay away from Solana. Do not dollar cost average in Solana. Do not dollar cost average into this project. It may look cheap, because a couple months ago, we traded around $300. So you may be looking at Solana $85, $85. you may be thinking, surely this looks very cheap. But let me be very honest, guys. This looks really, really bad. We are about to have a monthly close. And I'm going to be very honest with you. We are more likely about to get a monthly close below $95. And let me tell you what that means. If we close below 95, I think this is more likely. Look, if you ask me, I'll say 99.99% we close February below $95. If we close a monthly below 95, that opens a door to coming all the way down to $49. So just think about this for a second, guys. Going from 85 to $48, you basically are looking at a 40% crash. All right? You are looking at a 40% crash. Could we go lower? Absolutely, yes. But for right now, let's just stay with $48. Once we get to around $48, we are going to take a look at Solana and we are going to reevaluate our position. Do we think at 48 is a great place to be buyers, or, staying on the sideline, is the right thing to do? All right, like those are the two questions that we are going to ask ourselves. Once we are at 48, I'm telling you right now, just be patient a little bit. Now, there is going to be bear market rallies, so I want to make sure that I'm very clear, because what I don't want any of you guys to do is, at some point over the next couple of weeks, if you see the price of Solana running, let's say we go from, I don't know, maybe at $48 we get a relief rally. So if you see Solana go up probably 100%, I don't want any of you guys to get confused on what a bull market looks like and what a bear market rally looks like. If we do go up 100%, it won't be the beginning of a new bull market. The beginning of a new bull market is going to be clear, because it is going to take time to establish, a platform that will allow Solana to have an incredible bull market. There's going to be sideways trading on the weekly. There is going to be price going up, breaking above the most recent lower high. In this case, if we were trying to get back into the bull market, you are going to see Solana breaking above $148. I don't think you are going to see Solana anywhere around 148 in 2026. Right? Now, when the chart looks like this, look, we are going sideways on the daily, not on the weekly, on the daily. Solana is having a hard time right here. So once again, what is happening is it's a consolidation that is about to dump us all the way down in the $40 range. All right. I don't think, we break above these two moving averages right here. I don't think you get this. Even if you do get this, I think that is the top of the move, and, the downtrend will continue. What we are basically going to see, guys, is the opposite of our last bull market. You are basically going to get the opposite of this. Notice how during this bull market, a couple of times on the daily, we lost, our moving averages, but that didn't really last long. All right. And every time we had these pullbacks, the trend was still up. All right. Never really broke the trend. All right. Every time we had a pullback, never really came down and took out our most recent high or low. So in this case, when the price was here, $209, and then we had this pullback. All right, this pullback was very healthy. Longest price, stayed above $97, and you can clearly see. All right, we ended up bottoming around 118, and even when we did go sideways right here, stayed above 118. So I'm telling you right now, all right, even if price goes up, we're not going above 148. And if we do get like a really, really big rally, I'm not expecting one right now, but let's just say we were to get one, probably, the top of the rally will be somewhere around here, somewhere around $110, somewhere around $116. And then once the rally's over, you end up with something that looks like this. All right, you end up with something that looks like this, where every time we try to break above our most recent high, we get rejected. Just like during a bull market, every time we try to take out our most recent lows, we got a bounce. So when I'm looking at Solana, what I say to you is, as long as you're patient, you are going to get lower prices. You are going to get lower entries. It's not just Solana, guys. It's every single one of these tokens. All right, we've talked about Ethereum. Ethereum is currently consolidating in this, $1,900 range. And I know what the bulls are probably thinking. They're looking at Ethereum somewhere around $2,000, $1,700, and looking at Ethereum from this range right here. It looks like the bottom is coming in, but the truth is, there's no sign of a bottom, guys. All right? Like, there is no sign of a bottom. And we are having a hard time. And when you look at this consolidation right here, all right, this is not a bullish consolidation. This is a bearish consolidation. All right? Bullish consolidations, they don't look like this. So once this consolidation is over, all right, once this is over, so look at this right here. We are going to get a breakdown. And then, when you lose $1,700, I mean, I don't even want to talk about this, but when you go to the monthly, this is the monthly right here, chat. Ethereum is at a place of extreme interest. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. Because, look, hopefully we put in a bottom somewhere around here. Because if we were to get a monthly close, and I really, really want to be respectful of Ethereum. I don't want to get into some of the targets that I was talking about in the last bear market. But if we were to get a monthly close, now we haven't really tested, $1,400. But chat, if we ever get a monthly close below $1,400, I think that could be some really, really ugly stuff. Right now, my target is retesting $1,400 is more likely. It doesn't look like February is gonna close, anywhere below $1,400. But I do think, after the month of February and after what could potentially be a major, major bounce, I think what comes after is something that you definitely are going to have to watch. And the reason I'm saying this is because, look, Ethereum has had, chat, I don't think we've seen this in the history of Ethereum. You got literally 6, maybe 7 red monthly candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chat, this is going to be the 6th. All right, this is going to be red monthly candle number 6. We haven't seen this in the history of Ethereum. The last time we have 5, not 6. Even in the 2022 bear market, all right, we only had 3 consecutive red monthly candles, guys. Or maybe we did get one. We probably did get one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so you got to go back to 2018. All right, you got to go back to 2018 if you are looking for 6 red monthly candles or more on Ethereum. So, yeah, it's not looking good. It is not looking good at all. You gotta have to be careful. You gotta have to be careful out there. Let me take a look at XYO, and then we'll We'll look at others. And if anyone out there, if there's anyone out there who still believe that we are in a bull market, I need to be smoking what you smoking. Whatever you drinking, whatever you eating, I need to be on that. Like, I need to be on whatever the person is on if you still believe that this is a bull market. Because looking at these charts, looking at performance, looking at the setup, yeah, whatever that you on, I need to be on exactly that. Because this right here, my friends, like, this is diabolical, man. It's the only way to look at it. All right. So let me just kind of get rid of a few stuff right here, guys. I got too many things going on, and then we'll get back to charting. If you guys are interested in short term, I'm happy to look at that. If you are interested in some short term stuff, I'm more than happy to talk about it. Once again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and let's keep going. I need something to drink. All right, so let's take a look at XYO. What I'm gonna say though, I wouldn't even mess with XYO right now. Like, this is, if you're messing with XYO, you are playing with fire. So XYO, oh my gosh, I mean, look at this. All right, so I basically see a 46% crash. I mean, this looks like it was the last time I analyzed it. If I'm looking at XYO, I am not interested. Not at all. XYO is coming up against, some heavy support. So I'll be looking at this range. All right, this is a monthly time frame. I'll be looking at this range right here. If you go to the weekly, we recently lost a major weekly support right there around 0.00471. So it's only right. We're coming back into retesting 003 and potentially, the absolute lows of the last bull market. There's nothing else, to really say about XYO. I mean, this is an extremely bearish looking chart. If we go to the daily, what are we looking now? I mean, basically pumping it, dumping it. Now, look at these wicks right here. Doesn't really make any sense. I wouldn't be interested in this project at all if I was looking at it. Wait until the bull market, the bear market, not a bull market. Wait until the bear market is over. Wait until the establishment of, the next bull market. And then think about building a position. So what does the establishment looks like? Well, it looks exactly like this, where it stops going down and then it starts going up on the weekly, on the daily. Wait for something exactly like this. If you want to filter out the noise, you can use the 200 daily moving average. So the 200 would have gave you like a really nice entry around here, and you would have done very well in the last bull market. This was your second entry right here. Some of the entries, of course, never played out, just got a bunch of fake outs. But by the time you get this, you can clearly see you are already in a long-term downtrend. So not looking good at all. It's definitely not looking good. Going back to Bitcoin though, because a bunch of these stuff. Actually, no, not Bitcoin. Let me talk about Coinbase. So Coinbase, to me, is in a long-term bear market. Recently, they had their earnings. People thought, price was just going to dump. And then we ended up going from $140 to 166. To me, this is not, something to be bullish about. When you go to the daily, I'll share with you exactly what I'm thinking. On the daily, guys, I don't think the price of Coinbase is going to, like, I don't see us, in, as of right now, I want to say this, right? I think we get rejected somewhere around, the 21 daily moving average, or maybe somewhere around the 50 daily EMA. So we'll have to be a little bit more patient and see how this plays out. Now, I am going to say this, though. I do think we are due for a weekly bounce. We actually haven't got one. If this is a weekly bounce, okay, fair enough. But I don't think we've seen a weekly bounce. But we don't have to get one because even in the last bear market, like, we didn't get a weekly bounce until, the actual low of the bear market. So if I'm looking at Coinbase, in my opinion, like, this is a place where if we are going to get a bounce, we got to get a bounce right here. Actually, we are getting one. But ultimately, guys, I see us coming back to, $114, $115. And then once you lose that support, I see the price of Coinbase all the way down in the $70 range. So it's RIP. It really is RIP in 2026 for Coinbase, Bitcoin, and majority of the cryptocurrency market. Like, there is not a single setup that gets me excited right now. All the crypto related stuff, all the altcoins, Bitcoin, there is not a single chart that gets me excited. Like, I'm looking at these charts and I'm like, what is this? All right, honestly, what is this? So you gotta be careful. You really, really got to be careful. Oh my gosh, what a goal. What a goal. So yeah, so that is my outlook on Coinbase. And of course, we can play with different indicators, if you guys want to do that. Or we can just look at pure price action if you are interested in that as well. But let's go back to, actually, no, let's go to Iran. Look, my belief is that Iran's bull market is over. I think recently we got a weekly lower high. And right now, it's basically just a waiting game. And the game that I'm waiting for is Iran, going below $33. So 33 is our most recent higher low. So if price can go below $33, that gives us a confirmation of a breakdown on the weekly, because this will be a low right here. This will be a lower high. So anything below $33 gives us a lower low. And my friends, moving forward, you are more likely to see exactly this. And the other thing too is, once we go below 33, that gives us an Iran that is trading below its 50 weekly moving average for the very first time, guys, since, look, the last time we lost a 50 weekly EMA, you got to go back to around $9. All right. And that was the beginning of this bigger drop into the $5 range. And also, a lot of similarities right here, guys. We had a weekly lower high. The moment we took out 936, that was the confirmation of this dump right here. This time, my outlook is, we probably crash all the way down into the $15 range. And of course, much lower targets. But that is a conversation for a different date. All right, different time, different day. Conversation will be had. This is not a market that you should be chasing. I hope none of you is out here chasing this market. If you are chasing crypto, I need to help you. All right. If you're chasing crypto, you definitely need help, and I'm here to help you. And the help that I'm giving you is stay on the sideline. Oh, excuse me. Stay on the sideline. All right. Don't commit financial suicide. I think this is exactly what it's called. Uh, the equity market. I mean, what a day today. Oh my gosh. Very bad stuff. Zcash. Zcash right here. Recently we had a nice move just above $300. I think the top is in, and I think this is the beginning of, it dropped all the way back to $220, $180, but potentially, all the way down in, 118, and of course potentially below $100. That is my outlook on Zcash. And then, you got Sui. Sui, $97, consolidating right now. A major dump is coming. When I look at Sui, I see price dumping all the way down to around 40 cents. Just be patient. Wait until this consolidation is over. You got 40 cents. You got 40 cents. And there's nothing that I can do about this. There's nothing that you can do about this. It's business as usual, if you ask me at least. And I've seen influencers pushing Sui. Great accumulation in a 90 cents range. Great accumulation at 80. Chat, be careful. All right, look, there isn't too many like me who's willing to say, this is an ugly market. This is not a market that you should be wasting your time on. This is not the time to build a position. It's okay if you think a bunch of these stuff have corrected, more than enough. But it doesn't warranty time to accumulate. If you're patient, if you can be patient just for a little bit. And what I mean by a little bit, I'm talking about a couple months. You can buy most of this stuff so much lower, like way lower, guys. So if I'm looking at Sui right here, look, just looking at it from a pure price price action, I'm looking at, like, this is the lower high of this all-time high. This is a low right here. This gives you another lower high. This gives us a lower low. So right now, we have a lower low right now. So at some point, we are going to put in a bottom of this low, and then we're going to go up, and then we might put in another lower high. So as long as this is what, we are getting from Sui, then why are we in a rush to buy any of these tokens? We're going to have to be a little bit more patient. And remember, we're not just looking at price crashing. We are also looking at, all right, yes, price is going down, but do we have bullish divergences? Because bullish divergency could be a reason, for us to be buyers. Because sometimes, all right, price is doing one thing, moving averages are doing something else. And instead of looking at price, you actually look at moving averages. Because if we have bullish divergences on the day, on the RSI, or maybe the MACD, that is a reason to be a buyer. But if I'm looking at if a monthly is pulling back, I'm looking for bullish divergences on the weekly. The monthly is pulling back. I'm trying to see if we have bullish divergences on the weekly. I don't see any of them. So since I don't see a bullish divergency on the weekly, I'm on the sideline. All right, let me wait and wait and wait until it's time. All right, until it's time to actually start building a position. Question: what are your thoughts on the overall stock market? Does it look to you that the next several months will see further downside, or are there still some highs to come? That is an excellent question. So recently I looked at the SPY, which is the ETF of the S&P 500. So the SPY, I looked at it recently, and what I saw, I didn't like it. As of right now, we have bearish divergences. So you can clearly see, well, price was moving up. RSI was doing something different. MACD was also doing something different. So this is what we call bearish divergences. And normally what this means is, pretty soon at some point we are going to get a pullback. As of right now, all right, outside of bearish divergences, we still have a good looking SPY. We haven't broken down, but if we lose, 676, all right here, if we lose these lows right here, that gives us a breakdown on the daily for the very first time since, when was the last time we had a breakdown? I think you got to go all the way back to, early 2025, all right, when we lost $575. So if we lose 675, then I see a pullback down to around 651. So if your question is, like, do I see, a pullback over the next several months? I'm going to have to say I'm not really sure. And the reason I'm not really sure is because if I'm going to predict a pullback for several months, then I need to see a breakdown in the monthly structure or at least the weekly structure. If I'm looking at the weekly, so far weekly looks really good. All right, yes, we have bearish divergences, but like if I'm looking at weekly, man, if price is not below 651, like I don't have a reason to be bearish on this for several months. When I go to the monthly, this is the monthly right here. Like the monthly looks really bullish. Again, outside of, we are extremely, extended in terms of, just looking at some of these indicators. And also, just looking at the run from 483 around July of 2025, this is a straight line right here, guys, all the way up to around almost $700. Like, I really don't have a reason to be bearish for several months. I can't be bearish on something when every single indicator is still in a bull market. MACD is still in a bull market. RSI still in a bull market. Even, just looking at, pure price action, we're still above the 10 monthly moving average. I'm never bearish on something that's trading above the monthly moving average, because this thing could potentially go higher. We could potentially get this little minor pullback, not even break down. It could potentially just stay above 675, and we could potentially go up, break above 698 and continue higher. So for several months, I'm going to say I am very bullish, but very cautious. I'm bullish because the trend is still up. Once we get a breakdown in the trend, I'm bearish. All right. See, this is the only way to approach the market, guys. The trend is really, really your best friend. If the market is trending up, doesn't matter how extended it is, always remain bullish. Because once again, I'm going to share this with you guys. The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. This is a very good call right here. Because we could be looking at this and we could be thinking, surely we got to get a pullback. Surely we got to get a 20% crash. But the truth is, hey, man, things can actually stay insane. Like, who knew Zcash will go from $30 to $700 in about 2 months? That's how irrational things can be. So your question, do I see a pullback over the next several months? I'm going to say no. The answer is actually no. Once we do get a breakdown on the monthly, now that will allow me to answer your question. As of right now, I think you have to be very cautious on the daily, because if we do break down, if we do take out these lows right here, this will trigger a much bigger pullback that could potentially bring us all the way back to around $650. I'll tell you something that could potentially experience, a bigger pullback. If I'm looking at Robinhood on the weekly, all right, look, this thing looks really bearish, has been very bearish for some time. You go to the monthly, chat, I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't like the look of this. February looks like it's going to close below the 10 monthly moving average. To me, that could potentially trigger a much more sustainable pullback. And if I'm looking at targets, like it or not, you start looking at the $30 range. I'm not predicting that Robinhood is going to $30, but the trend really is your friend. So unless, I see a reason to have a different opinion, if I'm looking at weekly, if I'm looking at monthly, unless we start to get some bullish divergences, unless we start breaking above our most recent lower highs, I think there is a potential continuation of this pullback in the price of Robinhood. Now, my opinion would totally change. If we can get back above, like right now, if I'm looking at Robinhood, to be very honest with you guys, the bare minimum, I need the price to be back above the 200 daily moving average. That is a $100 Robinhood. So below that, I'm very cautious. And the bare minimum in the short term, actually, I need price of Robinhood to be above $88. So this is a stock that I'm looking at right now, and I'm just not interested in it. All right. Doesn't mean, this can be the bottom, but I'm just, I'm very cautious. I'm very on the sideline. I want to see where do we bottom and when do we resume our long-term uptrend. Long-term uptrend, in my opinion, we got to break above the 10 monthly moving average. Right now you're looking at, $97. We got to get a monthly close above it. You look at the entire bull market, guys. I mean, look at right here. Look at the performance. Actually, that was a wrong one. You look at the performance of Robinhood since breaking above the 10 monthly. Look, this was the breakout from $10 to 16. Ever since that breakout, it's been a straight line all the way up. Every single pullback below the 10 monthly moving average, we ended up closing above. Yes, here we wick down, but remember the monthly close, the close of the candle, that is what is important. So you got to be cautious. Other stocks that I'm looking at right now, and I'm, extremely cautious. Nvidia still looks really good, but if we can close the month, below the 10 EMA, once again, I don't care how wrong I am, and I don't care if, if people don't like it. I wouldn't like the price to be below $173. Palantir, guys, look, to me, Palantir does not look good. It looks like at least we're about to get a monthly close below the 10 monthly. All right, 10 monthly right now is around 147. So Palantir needs to hurry up and get above $147. Because otherwise, you look at the performance of Palantir, guys. Just look at the breakout. Look at the moment we broke above the 10 monthly moving average, which is right here. All right. Now, you don't just want to see if, price breaks above your moving average. That is not always a confirmation to go long, but this is a useful tool right here. We broke above the 10 monthly, all right, around, $14. I mean, look, this thing has been in an uptrend from 16. Was it 15, 16, 15, 16, all the way up to $206. If this was a strategy, this would have been your entry and this would have been your exit right now. And take a look at this right here, guys. This is an 800% gains. So you jumped in at 16, you just exited at 148. So if I'm looking at this, you start looking at some of these targets. Palantir, all right, you lose 124. These are weekly targets. You're coming down to 105. You lose 105. You're looking at 84. You lose 84, you're looking at 67. Now, remember, these are not targets. These are not predictions. These are just targets. We are just looking targets. Whether we get there or not, it really doesn't mean anything. So these are some of the stocks that I don't like right now. All right, and I use the 10 monthly moving average, to filter out the noise. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta right here, Facebook, of course, guys. I mean, look at its performance since breaking above the 10 monthly EMA, from $180 all the way up to around, $800. So if the monthly is close below the 10 EMA, just like right here, guys, this was a fake out. I'd rather stay on the sideline and wait until price regains, this EMA right here. You look at the last time we broke above the 10 monthly. That was back here around $25. All right, you could have held on to your position until all the way up to 117. All right, got out of your position, waited for this pullback, wait until price broke above 160, and you would have held on to your position until around $200. You would have exited your position again, back in your position again around $210. So, I'm looking at a bunch of this stuff, and gotta be careful. Look at Google right here, guys. All right, remember, the bigger the time frame, the better. You look at Netflix. I've been watching Netflix the last couple of months, and some people are dollar cost averaging around $77. If that's your strategy, okay, I don't mind. If it works for you, it works for you. But I'd rather just wait until we break above these long-term moving average. If I was looking at Netflix, look, the bottom in the last bear market, guys, was around $16. I would have waited until 33. All right, jumped in around 33, right it all the way up. All right, this is a 300% profits because I joined in when the trend was well established. So if I'm looking at Netflix right now, I don't do anything until we break above, $97. All right, Bitcoin. One of the reasons I'm extremely bearish on Bitcoin, you look at the last bull market. I remember when Bitcoin was breaking above its 10 monthly moving average. Let me just share that with you guys, because a lot of this stuff, I was posting them on X. Monthly EMA. Let me see. Right here, chat. Look, this was what? January 16, 2023. No, this is Ethereum. I was talking about Bitcoin right here, guys. BTC closer to getting above the 10 monthly moving average. Previously, all right, this has been the beginning of the bull market. At the time, the 10 monthly was around $22,000. Chat, literally, think about this, right? You could have bought Bitcoin at $22,000 because that's exactly what we did. No, we actually broke above around $25,000. You could have bought Bitcoin at $25,000 and you could have exit. All right, this would have been your entry, and you should have exit somewhere around $98,000, and this was a 288% gains. A very simple strategy, guys. So I was posting this on X, and the reason, all right, I'm bearish on BTC right now, long term, is because we have lost the 10 monthly moving average. And I am more happy to stay on the sideline until this is over. Right? This game is not about getting in at the absolute bottom of the bear market and getting out at the absolute top of the bull market, guys. This game is all about maximizing your returns and minimizing losses. It is also about getting in during a right time when the trend is well established and trying to get out when the time is right before you lose most of your gains. If BTC bottoms at $15,000 and tops at 126, if your entry is $22,000 or $25,000 and you manage to exit around $95,000 to $110,000, job well done. All right, job well done, guys. That's exactly what investing is all about. So, what I'm saying to you is you have a bearish market. What I'm saying to you is this is not a market that you should be betting on long term, not right now. All right. So, Chad, look, man, it's been a while. We just live streamed for about an hour and 10 minutes. I hope you guys appreciate the live stream. I hope you guys appreciate the conversation, and I hope I was able to provide value. If you enjoyed the chat, if you enjoyed the conversation, all right, please hit the like button, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I see a comment. Great advice. The 10 monthly EMA. Oh my gosh, excuse me. That's a great yeah, appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you guys. The 10 monthly moving average, definitely great. All right, guys. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoy this stream, and I will see you I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll live stream again. For some of you guys who are just tuning in right now, sorry, we got to get out. We got to end this, but you can watch the replay. It should be right there as soon as I end this. Look, there's a lot of value dropped in the stream, so make sure you go back, watch whatever that you missed, and hopefully there wasn't any technical difficulties. Hopefully the audio was working perfectly fine. But once again, hit the subscribe button, smash the like, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.